No, no. Hey, Chris, how you doing today?
Hey Gary, I'm doing pretty good, and welcome everybody to our training today where we're going to be talking about listing tips and strategies. Hopefully that's going to help you sell more homes today. Now,
Well, Chris, I got to tell you, man, I am really excited about this because, as you know, I have created a 22-year career focused on taking care of sellers, generating as many listings as I can because I have so much leverage to do that. And I'm delighted that we're here to share all of that knowledge with everybody here. And I hope everybody here is either at a point to where you want to transition to really start taking your own piece of the pie of listings, or you already have some, but you want more. And so we're going to be talking a lot about that.
yeah, Gary, in fact, here's how you guys know if you're in the right place. One is you might be thinking to yourself, I could use some more listing opportunities right now. And if that's you, do me a favor, go over to the chat section and say, yep, I could definitely use a few more listing opportunities, a few more listing leads, and ultimately a few more listing clients.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for right now. Go to the chat section and let us know. You also know if you're in the right place, if perhaps you've thought or said something along these lines. I would like to be known as a listing expert agent in my market. I want to be known as the undisputed champion of listings in my marketplace, right?
I love that term, undisputed champ.
So if you want to be the undisputed champion when it comes to listings in your local marketplace, say, you know what, that's why I'm here today. All right, just go to the chat section again. Say, you know, I'm here for that number 2 point there. Now, the third reason that you may hear, well, maybe you're here because of the third reason, and I just want to get some feedback from you guys before we dive into the meat of today's conversation. But how many of you guys are here because you could use a boost in confidence for your next listing appointment? I know that's usually reserved for people who've been in the business a little bit shorter than other folks, but I'm just curious, and heck, maybe you just haven't had a chance to do that many listings. But
Chris, I'm looking here. I'm seeing yes to all of the above.
Okay, well, if those are the reasons why you're here, you're in good company, and here's why. Gary and I have put together, we've got 3 goals. We want to be able to give you guys some simple and effective strategies to find listing opportunities quickly. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this, right, Gary? I mean, there's not like just one way to find listing opportunities. I mean, you've probably done them all, and they all have varying degrees of effectiveness, but they also have varying degrees of cost, whether time, energy, or money.
Yeah. Chris, I'll be honest. I've done everything from Facebook lead ads to jumping fences of private residences to knock on doors and jumping those fences to escape the police. So, I mean, I've done everything in between. And so what we want to talk about is just share the most effective practices.
Right.
That won't get you arrested.
The other thing we want to do today is help you guys master the conversations and techniques that's necessary for persuasion, right? Persuasion is the art of being able to set up that conversation correctly so that the right influence takes place, so that ultimately we're walking away with a signed listing agreement. So we want to help you master those conversations. And then, of course, you can't talk about listings without having a conversation, which is our third goal today, to help you overcome some of those common objections that prevent you from being able to close the deal or delay the closing of a deal. So those are the 3 goals that we have for you guys. My name's Chris Scott. I'm a real estate.
Chris, do you want to share the screen?
I will in a little
Not
bit.
yet? Okay.
My name's Chris Scott. I'm a real estate digital marketer. I currently manage social media accounts with over 250-some-thousand followers and fans. Gary and I work together in our different businesses where I generate approximately about 5,000 some leads every single month. And so I'm going to be sharing with you, my perspectives from a marketing standpoint, but more importantly today, I want you guys to learn from a listing expert agent, and that's Gary. Gary, if you just take, 20 seconds, just let everybody know who you are and what we're going to be bringing to the table today.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Gary Kreth, and I probably, like most of you, kind of fell into the real estate business. I just fell in about 22 years ago. And what I quickly realized is I focused on my business as a listing expert agent. I realized it's going to take me a whole lot less time to sell a lot more homes if I can just deal with listings. So that has been my focus in reducing friction, removing any sort of barriers to making that happen. And really what happened is, in the prime of my career right now, I work with Chris at Paperless Agent to bring everything that we know that works to you. But in the prime of my career, I was going on 6 listing appointments a week. I was carrying on average about 50 listings that were either active or pending. And so what we're going to share with you today is exactly the systems and processes that I used and continue to use to generate listing opportunities, make sure that I overcome all objections, and ultimately get the listing agreement signed. And by the way, I'm at a point in my career now to where I only go on the listing appointments that I really want to go on, and then I refer the rest to my team. And so that's who I am, and we're delighted that you're here to join us.
Okay, so Gary, before we get started, I've broken this information that we're going to share with everybody, the knowledge that you have to share and the templates and stuff that we use. I broken it into a handful of different sections. One of the things we're going to be talking about today, guys, is a simple system of templates and scripts to be able to get listing appointments or listing opportunities. We're also going to hit on what to send before the listing appointment. You know, you guys probably refer to this as a pre-listing packet, so we're going to hit on that. We're going to talk a lot about the actual listing presentation itself, which is, you know, where that persuasion happens. And then we're going to zero in on handling those objections and how to overcome some of the more common ones that we have to deal with, such as, you know, negotiating our fees and stuff like that.
And so, by the way, I do want to let everybody know that we are here. We're going to train. We're going to share everything we got. We're going to give you everything we got for about an hour. And then we're going to do about 30 to 45 minutes of Q&A. So what we really need you to do is pay attention, take lots of notes, and ask lots of questions over there in the chat feature. I see tons of people commenting, so I know you already know how to use that. But we want to make sure that you ask the questions. We have a team who will flag the questions, and Chris and I will get to the Q&A after the presentation.
Excellent. All right. So, Gary, I know we have a poll set up, and I wanted to tee this conversation up with having you guys answer just one simple question for us. And Gary, if you want to pop that poll up, the question is,
do you wing your listing appointment, or are you highly structured? Do you have a process, a system, and you follow that process and that system all the way through? Or do you just show up and say, I got this, I'll just wing it? You know, Chris, as we get into this, I do want everybody to know, and Chris reminds me of this all the time, is that the listing appointments where I walk away from without a listing agreement signed are those listings where I just strut in and I wing it. I don't show up with my listing appointment or presentation. I don't send anything beforehand. I don't send anything afterwards. I just show up and I'm like, I got this. And I walk out and I'm like, I didn't get it, you know? And so that's why it's really, really important, I think, to have a highly structured one. And we'll talk about that. So Chris, I'm going to end the poll here.
Let's end the poll.
I'll share with you. 39% of our attendees here wing it, and 61% of our students here are using a highly structured process.
Wow. 60-40, very interesting. So for those of you who are in the 40%, guess what? Even if you just take a fraction of what we're going to share with you guys, you're going to see a dramatic impact. For the 60% who are already using a highly structured format, you're in for a real treat, because anyone who's got an existing format can immediately see the benefits of just making a little tweak to either this conversation or this slide from your presentation or what you send beforehand. So you guys are in good companies. Now, what we're going to do is I want to start off by giving you guys a really simple yet highly effective set of templates and scripts that you can use to get a couple of listing opportunities. Now, before I do, I wanted to explain this system first. So you guys already know this. If I were to ask you what is the biggest source of business, you're probably going to say something like referral, or you're going to say something like repeat and referral business. And I think statistically, you know, you look at the National Association of Realtors, and that is absolutely true. Word of mouth. In fact, word of mouth is the single biggest method that home buyers and sellers use when choosing the real estate agent. Get this, word of mouth is even more prevalent than repeat business. Here's what I mean by that. People are actually more likely to get a recommendation to a new real estate professional than they are to work with somebody that they previously worked with. Get this.
That's a facepalm right there, Chris. That's a facepalm.
It should be. According to the National Association of Realtors, a full three quarters of home sellers get a recommendation or work with somebody else rather than work with the same person who they used to buy the home. Now, that should be something where you're like, if that doesn't make you stop and think for a second, then I don't know what would, because knowing that statistically speaking, 76% of the people, it's actually 76%, are choosing to work with somebody else, even though we did a great job helping them buy it, even though the majority of buyers, after they close a deal with their agent, the majority, I think it's something like close to 80%, say that I would definitely recommend and refer the person that I worked with. Yet fast forward a couple of years and they abandon the real estate agent that they worked with.
So Chris, this begs the question, why? Why are these past clients of ours hiring somebody else if we did such an exceptional job? Why?
You guys know the answer, right? We haven't stayed in touch like we should have, right? We didn't really communicate. We didn't continue to build on the relationship. We weren't sending them valuable ways to be able to stay connected by sending them value. And ultimately, here's what happened. Somebody else crept in, right? Somebody else started providing value. Somebody else started building a relationship with them. Ultimately, somebody else's reputation trumped our relationship. And that is something that we have to be very, very cognizant. We have to be very aware of. If we know that referral or word of mouth is going to be the number one way someone is going to find their next real estate professional, we've got to be very intentional about having a word of mouth strategy or a reputation or a recommendation and reputation building strategy. Now, this same strategy also helps us get repeat customers, but we want to make sure, because since statistically that's going to happen, people are going to be looking for, they're looking for recommendations from other agents. We want to make sure we've got a very proactive strategy for building up that word of mouth. Well, what is word of mouth? I think the person who has defined word of mouth the best is the author of the book called Word of Mouth, an author named Andy Cernovitz. I think he wrote this book in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. But he defined word of mouth as this. He defined word of mouth as giving people a reason to talk about you or your stuff, right? And then making it easier for those conversations to take place. I want you to remember that as we look into this campaign, is that what we're trying to do is build word of mouth or word of mouth or word of click, right? What we're trying to do is build up word of mouth and word of click business. In order to do that, we must do two things, right? First, we have to give people a reason to talk about us. And then the second thing we have to do is make it easier for those conversations to take place. All right.
Yeah, so I think that's where that is, Chris. If you look at the times in my real estate career where I think everybody here, we go up, we go down, we go up. And I think every time I examine the times when I may have a little dip in my production, you know what happened? I stopped spreading the word of mouth. I stopped giving people reasons to contact me, and I stopped giving them opportunities to refer me. And every single time, as soon as I re-engage that in a strategic manner with like exactly how we're about to share with everybody, business does that.
Yeah, I mean, this has been our experience. Every time we get busy and we stop doing this exact thing that I'm about to share with you, business falls off a little. Yep. Every time we re-engage this set of activities that we're about to share with you, business starts to pick up. Now, I'm going to show you a series of emails and social stuff that we're doing. I'm going to give you some specific templates. Now, some of these things are going to look familiar to you, all right? You're going to look at it and say, yeah, I've done that. I've sent this email out, or I posted something like that on social media, or I've done this on my website. All right, now, what I want you guys doing is I want you to be listening for the little twists that make this effective, right? So you're all ready. You've got all the equipment to do your barbecue. We're just going to do the little twist, like turning on the igniter to get this fired up so that it starts working. And that's what I find as somebody who teaches marketing to real estate professionals, I find that it's just the little things that are the difference between of effectiveness, right? You're 80% of the way there. You just need that little 20% to get that massive effectiveness going on. So with that, Gary, I'm actually going to show some slides now from the presentation, because I need to be able to show you guys, do a little bit of show and tell here. I want to show you some of these marketing pieces or these marketing materials so that you can wrap them in your mind and understand, how do I duplicate this? How do I replicate this to work for myself? Okay. So I'm going to well, you know what? Before I do that, guys, let me just give you an overview of what we're going to be sharing. So you're going to see an email. You're going to see a blog post. You're going to see a specific type of video that we share. You're going to see some social media posts that we do. And then you're also going to see a messaging conversation that we have. When you do all 5 of these things, I think it's 5 or 6 of these things that I'm going to share with you, it produces that word of mouth. And it's going to make so much sense when you see it. You're going to be like, gosh, that was so obvious. Why didn't I just connect those dots? And you're also going to see that, heck, that's pretty easy. I can do that in probably about an hour a month, right? Like, it's not a tremendous amount of work as long as you're doing the right steps. So let me go ahead. I'm going to click on my slide, and then you're going to see our slide deck. And I'm going to have to advance a few slides because we talked about a lot of this stuff already. Here we go. Whoops. All right, so I've advanced it to this specific thing. So here's what we're doing, guys. We're going to be communicating. Remember what that definition for word of mouth is giving people a reason to talk about your stuff and then making it easier for that conversation to take place. The easiest way to do this, guys, is, because we're service professionals, because we're in real estate, is to share our expertise, share our knowledge, share what we know, share valuable information. Easiest way to do this, right? And so one of the things that we do every single month is we send out an email. We send out an email that has useful information in it, right? It's always real estate related, but it's not always about the same thing. We always change up the topics. In the example that you see here, the question that we're asking and answering is the Austin housing market out of control? Okay, now, we're not asking for business here. All we're doing is we're providing value. And notice, it's not like we didn't write a book here, right? It's like, hey, is the Austin housing market out of control? You've probably been thinking about this. Here's a couple of points if you want to learn more. Here's a link for you to go learn more about this. And then P.S., if there's anything that I can help you with, please let me know. Now, this is the first step. Now, remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to engage people's consciousness here so that we're making it easier for conversations where they may recommend or refer us to take place. A byproduct of this also is that if they themselves are thinking of buying or selling real estate, we are now staying in touch. We are now building up that, re-engaging that trust with them so that they can respond to us and saying, Gary, I've been meaning to talk to you. And how many times has that happened, Gary? We're sending out these emails. I know it just happened the other day for you. We're sending out these emails and someone says, Gary, I've been meaning to talk with you, right?
Right. And here's the whole purpose behind that, Chris, is that we are offering them valuable real estate information, answering questions that we already know that they have. So we're answering questions we know they have. And then what does happen as an outcome is they reach out and say, oh, thank you so much for reminding me. I needed to get in touch because we need to talk about, do we add on to our house or do we sell and move? Or, hey, by the way, I wanted to let you know I'm relocating some people into town and I need you to help them buy a house. So glad you reached out. This happens all the time. But the thing is that Chris talks about this, is there are 2 C's that we talk about in communication, and it's great content. So you need great content and consistently send that great content out. Mm-hmm. And so that we're going to be touching on that. But like Chris said, the email is just one of those steps.
Right. So the email, notice in the email, there's a link to more information. My preference is to link to our website where they can get some more information.
So why is that your preference, Chris? I know why, but I want everybody here to hear explicitly why.
Well, remember, there's one of the things I'm trying to accomplish, first and foremost, is I want them to see us as authorities. I want to build up our credibility. I want them to see us as listing experts, right? I want them to see us as that. And there is no better way than to be able to provide some information and then show them that we're the authority on this, right? So when you click on this blog, when you click on the link and you go to our website and there's a more lengthy blog post, by the way, you don't have to write this. You could also shoot a short video saying the same thing, right? You can shoot a 3 to 4 or 5 minute video talking about the same thing, putting it onto your website or putting it onto your YouTube channel or wherever it is. But you use the method that is easiest for you to produce and share this information. But what this does is that it, in the mind of the viewer, just affirms, it's constantly affirming that you are the expert, that you are an authority when it comes to real estate, that you can be their trusted advisor. Now, there's another byproduct, there's another benefit to this, is that whenever someone visits your website, if you're using tools like Google, if you're using tools like Facebook, you can then share additional messages to those individuals who visited your website. So that's sort of a secondary reason, but first and foremost, I want us to always affirm that we're the authority. Now, we only do this once a month. It's not like you got to do this every single week. Once a month, you share some useful information and you email it out to folks. But we're not quite done there, because remember, what we're trying to do is get as many people. We want to be able to influence as many people who could potentially be those word of mouth advocates for us. But we also want to precede those conversations so that the people around those folks who might recommend us are already familiar with us. Remember, real estate and we're finding clients is a process of getting people to know, like, and trust us. That's relational or relationship marketing. So if we want to get people to know, like, and trust us, we need to share this information with everybody in our sphere and everyone who's really connected to them. I'm going to show you a way to do that in just a moment. But they have to know, they have to be aware of us. It is through consistency that they begin to like us. And then the trust happens if they ask somebody about us or they get that recommendation, and that's where we solidify that opportunity. So we want to post this on social media. We want as many people to see this. You might even go as far as boosting this post to people who are in your sphere of influence. But the next one is where this really starts to have great impact. Right? This is, if I had to choose between just posting this on social versus doing this next thing, I'll choose this next thing all day long. What is it? It's shooting just a 1-minute video talking about what you had shared in that email or what you had shared in that blog post, and just having your likeness, you being represented, sharing that information. Now, I know everyone can shoot a 1-minute video. It might seem a little difficult because you haven't done it yet, but trust me, you can do it with the thing that's in your pocket or in your purse, right? You can use your phone to shoot these videos, just like Gary did in this example. He's just sitting at his home office there with, what were you using, a webcam or your phone?
No, Chris, I was actually using, I was using my iPhone. I had my iPhone on a little selfie stick tripod sitting in front of me. And what we do is we call this expert positioning videos, because what we're doing is we are sharing our expertise and knowledge in real estate with our customer base through video. Yeah. And I know so many people are like, Chris, I don't like video. It scares me. I'm not very good at it. Here's the thing. Trust me. You're much better at it than you think, because you are in front of customers all day, every day. You're sharing your expertise with them anyway. All you have to do is treat your phone as if it's your customer sitting in front of you. You shoot the video, and here's the beauty of this, is that you see down there, we got this in front of 893 people. Well, I can't sit in front of 893 people a day and share my expertise with them. This is like massive broadcasting our expertise to stay in front of people.
Well, and those 893 people go beyond the people who we just have a connection with, right? That's what I'm talking about, preceding this conversation. And here's the thing, anyone who might be a little bit concerned about doing their first video, remember, here's a takeaway from Dale Carnegie, who wrote, probably the book on public speaking. And the easiest way to be able to deliver an effective speech or conversation or short video is to talk about something that you know. If you talk about something that you know, you're going to come across far more confident. You're going to be able to convey that message versus when you talk about something that you don't know. And then you're not going to come across. And that's when it seems harder. If you just talk about what you know, and you know real estate, and if it needs to be something where, I just need to, get an update on what's happening in the market, what are the recent stats. But if you talk about what you know, this becomes far easier. And then all you've got to do is go to the next step And in the way we get in front of more people is to boost that post, but don't just boost it to anybody. You want to boost that to people who are in your sphere of influence. You want to boost that to people who've been visiting your website. So you don't want to just randomly boost posts. You want to boost posts with intention. But here's what happens when you do. That's how all of a sudden, 890 some people, they are watching this, they're clicking on it. Get this, 85 people actually clicked on this to get more information, right? Because they wanted to hear more about what Gary had to talk about. And so all of this is starting to work. And we're not done yet, by the way. First, I need to point out that we didn't break the bank here. We're talking about, in this case, $3 to get that kind of impact. $3, because what we've done is we've put the right information out there. We've done it in the right sequence of steps, and we've done specifically the right activities. That's how we can spend as little as $3 to get those types of results. Now, this campaign or this template, this series of steps is not quite done. Now that we've been setting up all of the word of mouth to take place, remember, we have to make it, we have to give people a reason to talk about us, and then we've got to make it easier for those conversations to take place. What does this do? Everything that we've done here sets that up. But now we've got to go to the collection mechanism, right? So we have to do one more thing to be able to collect on referrals, recommendations, and even repeat business. Yeah. And that one more thing.
Hold on, Chris. Before you get to it, I was going to say it ain't picking up the phone any longer.
No.
This is the thing, is that we in real estate are so afraid of picking up the phone and calling everybody in our database or cold calling or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Put the phone down. If you shot the video, put the phone down.
Yeah. Just use like Facebook Messenger, right? So that's what makes Facebook Messenger so awesome. And Gary, technically you're not putting the phone down. It's just you're not putting it to your head. You're putting it in front of your hands and you're starting to text. Or if you want to make life easier, use the desktop version of Facebook Messenger and copy and paste. And all you're going to copy and paste is, hey, how you doing? I just wanted to check in and see what's going on. You're not going to.
Well, let's take a look at an example of this here, Chris, because that's what I've been doing. And I've told you, I said, we need to find an alternative for for all of our students to have what you coined phone-free lead generation, right? So it's phone call-free lead generation. So we're like, well, how do we do this? What we do is we get on our laptop and we private message people on Facebook. And this is exactly what happened. This is a past client of mine. His name just so happens to be Chris as well. And here's the message that you send out. Hey, Chris, we have not spoken in a while, and I wanted to check in and see how things are going. That's all I said. And by the way, what you do is you take that message, except for their name, copy, paste, and you just message hundreds of people on Facebook, and this is the response. He said, hey man, wow, so weird. I was just thinking about you. I even went over to your social media, blah, blah, blah. We're doing good, heading to San Antonio this weekend. How about you? What you been up to? And this created an opportunity for me to open dialogue about them. Are they interested in selling or buying real estate? And then continuing the conversation by using what Chris and I like to call the magic phrase.
Which is, whether you do this in person or whether you're doing this through conversation, is simply, tell me more about that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing is, I think in real estate, we are taught by the old guard to tell everybody what we can do for them, to tell everybody how awesome we are, to tell everybody how we're producing and how we're out producing everybody. Instead, what's in it for them? We need to discover who are they, what are their specific concerns, what's important to them, and then how can I help them? Then what happens is that relationship shifts, and the way that you really dig deep and dive down and to find out what is really important to them is you ask questions, and anytime they respond, you can always use this magic phrase to dig deeper, and that is, gosh, can you tell me more about that?
And if they are either one of two things, if they themselves are in the market to move, or they know somebody who is, it's actually okay to say something along these lines. How long have you been in your home, and have you thought of moving in the future? In fact, the first time that I heard Gary say this surprised the crap out of me. I'll be honest. We were sitting in the office one day, and I forget, we were getting ready to do some work together, but he was over off on the side on his phone, and he's talking to one of his past clients, and I think his name is Sean, and he was like, hey, he's talking, and they're talking about like random stuff, and all of a sudden Gary says, well, have you thought of moving? And I was like, what? You know, like it seemed like it was out of the blue. He was like,
I remember
thought
this
of
call.
moving?
Well, I was on the phone with Sean, and he's talking about how they're doing, but gosh, you know what? The kids are getting bigger, and you know, it just seems like the house is getting smaller the bigger the kids get. And I heard that, and I was like, well, have you thought about moving? Because
Yeah.
you know, right now is a prime time to take care of that situation. We can find you a house that is much larger and suits your family better. Are you available this weekend to get together to talk about that?
You know, and whether that's happening through text or through Messenger, or even if you do choose to pick up the phone and call and reach out to folks, here's what happens, right? All of that work to be able to make sure that we've made it easy for people to refer, recommend, and remember that they want to work with us in the future, right? That's constantly happening because the information that we're sending out, the type and format of the information that we're sending out, the consistency and frequency in which we're sending out, and then just taking that one last little step, which is copy and paste, hey, how you doing? And dropping that into a tool like Messenger and making that individual connection. Because you guys already know this, as much as we would like to have this one-to-many relationship, we all know that real estate is relational. It's a relationship that gets cultivated and built because we're providing service. And the only way to really cement that relationship, right, so that it's a high quality customer. I'm not talking about someone who's asking you to negotiate your fees, is if you have somebody where you've got that relationship and they respect you, right? They respect your expertise. They place a premium on your expertise, okay? Now, that is, you do that consistently for any amount of time, and you're going to have yourself a surplus. I know this to be true just based on not only our experience, but many of our clients. And, you know, ask any seasoned person who's either on this session, who's been around for a while, been in the business for 10, 20 years, and they can say, you know what, this is going to be effective. This is how you get business. Now, assuming now you're getting some opportunities, you're going to eventually get listing appointments, right? And that's where we were going to use our listing presentation. But before we do,
right,
there is a very important step, okay, that we must take before we rush to the listing appointment, right?
Yes, this is absolutely critical, Chris. This is a step that you don't bypass, you don't forget this step, because this step, I can tell you from experience, when you skip this step, you walk in behind. Like you're already behind during the listing appointment. You follow this step, you're going to walk in and you're way ahead of your competition.
Yeah, this is a tool to actually thwart the competition simultaneously while making you stand out in the marketplace, both consciously and unconsciously. Like, people won't recognize exactly what's happening, but this little tool that you're going to send out does significantly set you apart. So you guys are probably familiar with the concept of a pre-listing packet. Go over to the chat section just real quick. I want to make sure that we're not losing anybody because we're using industry jargon, but do you guys know what a pre-listing packet is? If there's anybody who doesn't know what a pre-listing packet is, just be like, yo, what's that? And then, you know, I can stop and explain that if you guys don't know what a pre-listing packet is.
You know what I'm going to do, Chris? I'm throwing a poll up here.
Okay.
And I'm saying, do you use a pre-listing packet?
Do you guys send information out to your listing customers before you go on an appointment with them? Okay.
So, Chris, my guess is that we're going to hit probably close to the same 60-40, and the 40% who kind of show up for and wing listing appointments, it very well may be the same 40% who don't send a pre-listing packet, and that's okay. But we're going to show you what that is.
Yeah. You know, when I first learned about this from a gentleman, from a trainer named Rick DeLuca, and he used to do a lot of good broker training and stuff. And one of the things that Rick used to suggest that we do that he found to be super effective. Now, Rick was selling real estate like in the 80s and stuff like that, so things have changed a little bit. But one of the things that Rick would used to do, he would go out and buy a nice fancy binder, and he would print all this like useful information in there, and then he would have a messenger actually go and deliver that binder to the individual.
I did the same thing, man.
That, you know, and you know, it's like one of the things. Now, here's the thing. Nice looking binder, great. Definitely is going to make you set you apart. But there's one piece of information that hits to the heart of what the sellers want us to do, and that's what I want to share with you guys. So Gary, maybe hit that poll while I start to tee up the slide.
I already did it, Chris. About 53% do send a pre-listing packet, and the remainder do not. And actually, if you're in the chat section, we have a lot of newer agents who don't even know what one is. So, so this is going to be really powerful for them. And even if you do send one out, this might be a nice little twist on the one that you're currently sending.
Yeah, so how many of you guys are sending in your pre-listing packet of information that you're providing to your clients before you show up on an appointment, a property marketing plan, meaning a list of all the things that you're going to do to market the home to prospective buyers? Right now, this is very important. According to the National Association of Realtors, the highest priority task that home sellers want us to do as real estate professionals is to market the home to buyers in the market. Right now, they want us to do a few other things like help set the price and make recommendations, but ultimately, according to the profile of home buyers and sellers, the thing sellers want from us is to market that home. So if we know that's going to be the case, does it make sense to explain to them everything that we're going to do and even use this as a point of distinction or a point of differentiation on how we stand out from others in the marketplace? Because Gary, what is it that, unless we tell them this is what we're gonna do to market their home, what is it that they think we're going to do?
Well, here's the problem, is that they think that we're going to do what they think everybody does, and that is put the home in the MLS, put a sign in the yard, and sit back and pray that the house sells. And that's a very dangerous position that we put ourselves in, because, like I said, we show up to a listing appointment and we're already far behind. So if we show up and we have already stricken that thought that all we do is show up and put a home in the MLS, put a sign in the yard, and pray that it sells, what happens is that they begin to marginalize us and say that we are just like everybody else. Which, by the way, I'm gonna share with you, that's the number one reason they ask us to discount our commission, and that's the number one reason where they look at the other agents that they're interviewing, and then it's like, any, mini, miny, mo, I'm gonna choose this one for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, if we want to get recognized for our expertise, if we want to get recognized as an expert, or we want to have that authority, that credibility in the mind of all the clients, ultimately, when it comes down to how do we command respect with our clients so that they'll respect our information, our expertise, is we got to show them how we're different. Yeah. So when we look like we're all the same, that's a problem, right? And here's the thing, unintentionally, we tend to look the same. We all say that, we care. We all say that you can trust us and that we have integrity and that we're honest. And we all, we might not say these things overtly, but these are the things that we're trying to communicate in the marketplace. Plenty of people out there saying that they're number one. Plenty of people out there saying that they can sell the home for more and faster and all of those things, right? But what we want to do, and if that's the noise that's out there, guess what? Doesn't matter what you're saying, you all sound the same, right? That's what happens to us when we make the same promises to everybody. They're like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to go with my brother-in-law or my sister-in-law because at least I trust that person, right? But what we need to do is give people a reason to see, wait a minute, these guys are different. I mean,
yes. Oh, you nailed it, Chris. Differentiation is the name of the game. And by the way, I want to share with everybody, Lisa just commented, when you share your information, I'm going to go further and say your expertise, you are already establishing yourself as the expert. Yes, Lisa, you nailed it. That's exactly the point here.
And so what we got to do, this is why the pre-listing packet's so effective. And this particular piece is that before we even show up, we are preceding the conversation to happen on the listing appointment, during the listing presentation, so that we're showing up at the door and they already have that understanding about what we're going to do for them. And they now can place a premium on our expertise. In fact, this tool alone, right, is going to help you come back to justify your fees. We're going to talk more about that later, but this is a tool that you can use to justify your fees. Now, We could talk more about this. I'm just going to like shorten the conversation by saying this is simply a list of the kitchen sink of what you're going to do to market the home. In our own property marketing plan, we emphasize those things that make us unique and different. We use a lot of Facebook ads. We do a lot of Google ads. We do a lot of video. We do a lot of things, and we emphasize those things that make us different, and we de-emphasize the things that make us the same. By the way, we also include those things in there. I am going to mention that we put a sign in the yard because we do, but I'm just going to emphasize those things that make us different. But
yeah, now Gina just said, so the pre-listing packet is different than the actual listing presentation. Absolutely, you got it. And now we're going to talk about the actual listing presentation.
Thank you, Gina, because now it's time to talk about the listing presentation. What I've done is I've pulled some pages or some slides from Gary's listing presentation. I couldn't get them all because I think there's 20 some and we only have enough time to talk about a few. But I do want to talk about the most important ones because here's the thing. And before we get into this, I just wanted to have a quick conversation with you guys. So we're going to show you slides from Gary's listing presentation. Yeah. And for those of you, the 60% of you guys who already got like a format, you're just taking one of these guys. Just taking one slide, one conversation is going to benefit what you're doing. And I know that'll happen, but there's something I want to point out for you guys. For the 40%, and for anybody who doesn't focus constantly, relentlessly on the delivery of the pitch and the promise, is you must understand your listing presentation, the way you're representing yourself. You're doing a couple of things, right? So you are either going to continue building and cementing trust, or you're giving people either a conscious or subconscious reason to question your credibility. And I'm going to show you exactly how that happens in just a second. But we must master the pitch and the promise, because the pitch is how we communicate it, right? How we linguistically as well as visibly and emotionally represent ourselves, that's either going to build trust, right? That's the pitch, that's how, or it's going to have people question, right? It's going to question our competence if we're not good at the pitch. We also have to master the promises. We got to know what they want, and we have to master those promises. And Gary, you know, you've been methodical in how you've handled this. I mean, you've specifically created slides to advance the conversation so that each promise builds on the next. Yes. And the only thing that we have to do at this point is just master the pitches, which is rehearsal, right?
It's just mastering the communication of the promises. And like Chris said, I've spent 22 years perfecting my listing presentation. We're going to take a look at a few of the slides here. A few of the tips I want to give everybody as we get into this is tip number one is use a listing presentation like ours that starts building trust on micro levels in the beginning and then builds up to the big crescendo trust builder. So there is a design to the there's rhythm and rhyme to everything here. In addition to that, yep.
I was just going to start it up, Gary, and start.
Okay. But also ask a question at the beginning of every slide. So, for example, number one is people always want to know how fast are you going to sell my house and for how much. It's basically us versus them. And so what we want to share with everybody is why you want to hire us and how we outperform the marketplace. So I would start a conversation on this slide by saying, so Chris, you're my seller, okay? Mm-hmm. Chris, do you like statistics?
They don't lie, right?
They don't lie. And you know what? I love statistics too, and I love these specific statistics because it always helps me gauge how well I am outperforming my competition in the marketplace so that my clients ultimately make more money in the less amount of time. So let's take a look at what this looks like for you, Chris. Okay, so in Austin right now, on average, homes are selling. And by the way, everybody, we made these numbers up. Right now, on average, homes are selling in 48 days. Well, when you hire us and my firm at Kreth Partners, on average, we're selling homes in 16 days. Now, that's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, a lot better. Now, also, in Austin right now, on average realtors are selling homes for 98.25% of their ask price. Now, that's not bad. And when you hire us at Kreth Partners, on average, we're selling homes for 3.45% more than the average realtor. Now let's take a look at what this means to you, Chris. Let's assume that we sell your house for $500,000 and we're earning you 3.45% more. On average, what that means, Chris, is we're going to make you $17,250 more than if you hire somebody else. Now, that's a lot of money, isn't that, Chris?
Yeah.
So that right there, Randy, we made those numbers up for this presentation. We didn't make these numbers. We use real numbers in our real presentation. Come on, Randy.
They were accurate at one point. Like, I think that they were accurate at when we originally built that slide, but I grabbed that slide a while ago and put it into this presentation. So yes, the numbers would be a little bit different right now. I think the key thing to remember here is this is the beginning of the promise. Remember I said that we got to master the pitch and the promise? We first must make a bold claim of what we're going to do. And what you're going to see in the following slides is we then follow up with the how, right? We got to explain to them. If you're going to make a bold claim, like I outperform the market, right? You must then provide them the evidence, the proof, the example of how that's going to take place. Because even though they might not say, well, how are you going to do that? They are wondering, well, you know, I've heard this before. You know, I wonder how they're going to do this or what makes them any different. Now, if we've sent that property marketing plan, they've got a little bit of it, but we got to follow through on the conversation and explain to everybody the rest of the pieces. So, you know, a little script that you can use from that one is when you sell your home with my firm, on average, you'll earn X% more, and then just take a moment to calculate what that means for them in actual dollars.
Always, always, always show what it means to them.
And, you know, I shared this information with you guys before when we were talking about that property marketing plan that you would send out as part of your pre-listing packet is, you know, what is it that sellers want from their real estate professional? Well, they want us to market the home to buyers. And where are the buyers? You know, the buyers are on the internet, right? They are on the internet. 95% of folks are going to be using the internet as part of their search. The other 5% of the people are probably not actually, they're not like an active searcher. It's other ways in which the transactions take place. But what happens is with this information, you want to point that out to people and say, did you know over 95% of home buyers use the internet part of a search? That's why it's critical to hire a firm using innovative marketing strategies, which leads us to the next couple of slides, right? What we're going to do is we're just going to talk about the marketing. We mention it in the property marketing plan, but now we talk about it during the listing appointment, right? And so we just have a few slides that show where this is a show and tell process. This is why having something that's digital like this is so effective, because you can do the show and tell. Remember show and tell from kindergarten? What did you do? You went to kindergarten, you sat in a group and you talked about stuff, and you showed something and then you talked about it. And why was that effective? Because people like to look at stuff and listen. That's just the way it works. We are pre-programmed to enjoy that style of presentation. So when you can show them and then tell them what you're doing, it's more effective. Gary, you always say it's far more effective to show somebody, right? A master salesperson always shows somebody instead of telling somebody, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you show them this information, they begin to create their own interpretations of what that means to them in their own head. And so that's why we're showing them everything. In addition to that, it helps me remember what I need to talk about and the questions I need to ask them. So like Chris said, is that we need to make sure that we show them everything that we're going to do to market and sell their house online, because we perfected the pitch and now we're making the promise and we're showing them how we're going to deliver on this and to deliver what they want.
Right. So those are some of the key components. Now, I have a few more slides from Gary's listing presentation that I want to share with you guys. Is this making sense? Before we move on, I just want to make sure that we're making sense here. So we talked originally, you know, the first part of this conversation was about how to get listing opportunities. Then is what we talked about, what to send out to folks before you go on the appointment. Now we've hit on some of the core components to what you say during the listing appointment when you're making that pitch and promise. So I want to make sure, go to the chat section and say, yes, we're tracking with you. I'm ready to move on to some closing strategies and handling.
Yes, Chris.
Okay. So
100% makes sense, Daniel says.
I've got a tip. All right. So since that's making sense, let me give you an advanced tip, right? This is going to be relevant for what we just talked about and what we're about to talk about. So back in the 90s, there were some interesting studies done by researchers who wanted to understand the power of linguistics and persuasion. Okay, so let me just pop this up for a second. So in the 90s, they did a bunch of research on trying to understand how does communication, and specifically the linguistics of our communication, the words that we're using, how we communicate those words, and how does it affect persuasion? And here's what they found. They found that it seems pretty obvious. The use of powerful language has a very positive effect on persuasion. But what was I think what was most eye-opening about that research and the studies that were done was not about the powerful language, but rather the unpowerful language. What do I mean by unpowerful language? It's when you're talking and you're using ums, ers, awkward silences, maybe not knowing what to do, awkward transitions, right? All of these things would be considered unpowerful language. And here's what they found. Both consciously and subconsciously, people were affected by somebody's use of those ums, awkward transitions. All of those things work to undermine the speaker or the presenter or that person's influence on the other individual. Wasn't intentional. They didn't mean to do it. But because of those ums, those ers, the listener, they automatically, subconsciously started to discount the credibility of the speaker. And what they found is if you are going to be trying to influence somebody, and guess what? On a listing appointment, are you trying to influence somebody?
That's the whole purpose.
Absolutely. You are trying to persuade them to sign the agreement so that you are the one that they choose and work with. And so in order for this to work, in order to use powerful language, the only way to do this is practice. You must rehearse your pitch and your promise, i.e. your listing presentation, to remove those ums and ers and awkward transitions so that you don't inadvertently undermine yourself as the undisputed champion of listings in your marketplace, right? You must practice and you must rehearse. And so when you do that, what we're about to talk about right now with closing strategies and handling objections, Gary has designed this so that it is just like wiping it off, because they've already been handled before they come up. And so when they do come up, or if they come up, oftentimes they don't because we've handled them during the presentation, you just slide right out of there and you are good to go. So Gary, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share my slides, my presentation, because I want to show some more slides from the listing presentation, from your listing presentation. But we're going to talk specifically about closing strategies and handling objections. And so, one of the first things that you do, Gary, is to set up what's going to happen through our process. So we just let, part of handling objections is just letting everybody know how this is going to work, right? You're just going to let them know we're going to have this conversation. Here's the structure of the conversation, and that's how it's going to flow, so that when you start having these different points of communication, they expect it. They're not caught off guard. So, they're not going to be caught off guard when you are ready to talk about the price of the home, what the market is willing to bear. Now, this is oftentimes one of the points of contention. In fact, in a lot of newer real estate agents who are newer to this listing process, I oftentimes hear that this is this is something that makes them nervous. It's something that causes them a little bit of concern, is having that pricing conversation. So, Gary, let's talk a little bit about your approach to having the pricing conversation with a home seller.
So as I said earlier, I always start these slides by asking questions. And so this slide is designed to show three different ways that you can price your home. You can grossly overprice it. You can overprice it just a little bit and have mediocre preparation. That's called limbo land. Or you can be priced in the market. And so I would ask somebody like this. So Chris, have you ever been scrolling online and you see a house, you're like, man, that house is really overpriced?
Yeah,
of course. Well, now, Chris, would you ever be interested in ever going to see that house?
No, you're not going to waste the time.
You're not going to waste your time. So can we agree that we're not going to grossly overprice your house to make sure that we get those people into your home? Because we don't want that happening to you, do we?
Right.
And so we talk about that. Then we talk about, well, Chris, have you ever seen somebody who just kind of prices their house just a little bit above market because they want a little bit of wiggle room for negotiations? Well, the danger in that, Chris, is that traditionally those homes sell for below market value because buyers go in there, they know it's overpriced, and then they lowball them. Now, we don't want that happening to you either, do we?
Right.
Of course not. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we price your home accordingly in the market. And so everybody, what we're doing here, as Chris is talking about, is we are seeding the conversation to talk about what their home is actually worth and what it needs to be marketed for. And if we can handle those objections, just shave those off before they become objections, and say, and I mean, at this point, they're not going to say, well, can we price it just a little bit high? I'm like, well, no, let's go back and take a look at this. We already took care of that. And so by, like Chris said, by mastering the pitch, which is the conversation, and you heard, I didn't say or ah or stutter or anything in that entire conversation. It's because I have practiced it. It is a script that is embedded in me. So that's one great way to handle any sort of overpricing conversation that people would want.
Well, here's the thing. If you've done everything else correct, right, like everything that we've talked about so far, you're walking up, and what we're doing, they're already seeing us as an expert. They're already placing a premium on it. Now what we're doing is we're just heading off some potential questions that they might have or objections that they might have based on the lack of education on how the market works, how pricing works. So we educate them, and then when we come back with the price of the home, we're going to rely on the fact that they see us as an expert on our authority and that we've educated them so they understand the pricing strategy that we're going to use for the home. A common one, Gary, that comes up is, hey, will you discount your fees or will you discount your commission? And
well, gosh, we already handled that, because you remember, Chris, when I pulled up my phone and I talked about how much more we sell homes on average. I keep this, by the way, I keep this open between us, so they always see the 17,250 reasons that they need to hire me over somebody else. So this actually removes the objection of, will you discount, because we already handled the reason why we don't.
Right, so that is how you handle both of those really common objections. But we're not done yet, Gary. I want to be able to show you how you turn every single listing opportunity into a multiplier effect, meaning every one you go on should, in the very near future, replicate themselves into additional recommendations, into referrals, into additional word of mouth, because the person who is most likely to recommend you is the person you're working with right now. Why? Because you're always top of mind. And so the very next thing we do, all right, we want to make sure we indoctrinate this new client of ours, or even if they're about to become a client, we want to make sure we treat them like a client, that we onboard them as a customer so that they know how to work with us, they know the value of working with us, and so they know how to refer and recommend us, because chances are they're going to be telling everybody, we just put our home on the market, we just put on the home on the market. And some of those conversations are going to lead to this. Oh, we've been thinking of moving as well. Oh, well, you got to work with Gary. Or they don't say that, they don't think that, but hopefully if you're following this process as we described today, it will happen more likely. But here's how you cement the deal. You provide a client welcome kit. So immediately after the listing appointment, send a client welcome kit. A client welcome kit is simply information about working with you and how to get a hold of you, a little bit about you. You're going to provide in your client welcome kit tools and resources to be able to further educate them, whether they want to buy a home or whether they want to sell a home, right? And so in our case, in our example that you see on the screen here, I just have links to videos. I have links to videos answering these different questions, like learn about buying power and, learn about the hidden housing market and learn more about real estate investing. These are videos that we created. By the way, if you don't have videos, don't worry about it. You could link to articles on a blog or even just industry-related resources. National Association of Realtors has plenty of articles out there that you can plug and play and link to from your client welcome kit. So you talk about some of your advantages, because remember, not only is this a tool to onboard or indoctrinate or get your customer comfortable and understanding how to work with you and all the benefits that there are going to be working with you, this is going to be a tool that does what? It's going to make it easier for people to have those conversations about it, because if they encounter somebody who's thinking of moving, they can say, you know what, let me send you the information that Gary sent me. So we want to make sure that we've got direct offers of help so they understand how to engage us, like, hey, I would like to take advantage of your home buyer direct access program. We also need to talk about selling, right? We need to provide the advantage of selling and working with us from a selling capacity and provide additional resources for selling, and then also showing them how to engage with us if they're thinking of if they're interested in selling their home by making an offer of an expert home value analysis, right? So in this client welcome kit, it's all about education. right? By providing useful information, by educating our client, by educating them on their circumstances, on the market, on what we're doing and how to work with this. This is the mark, right? This is the mark of the expert. This is the mark of that recognized professional. Let them know you're going to be sending information out every single month, which was how we got them in the first place. Remember, the very first thing we talked about were those different templates that we were sending out. Call them monthly reports and let them know that's going to be happening. Let them know that they have access to recommendations from you to your professional network if they need any help around the house, right? So make it easy for people to contact you. Make it easy for people to reach out to you. And that is simply all the client welcome kit is. Now, one of the things I highly suggest that you do is use something like this and send it out to everybody that you know, right? And everybody in your database. You just let them know, hey, I recently updated my client welcome kit. I wanted to make sure that if you know anyone who's thinking of moving or buying, anyone who's thinking of moving, that you had a copy of this so that they would have useful information, tips, and resources at their hand when they decide that they are ready to take action. And what that means is you're just, again, providing information. And anyone who's thinking of moving, they're going to be like, yo, I've been meaning to talk to you. And then you're making it easier for those conversations to take place. And so I've got a question. And I want you to go over to the chat section because I have a feeling a lot of you are going to want some of these templates that we've been talking about today. What template have we been talking about today? We've been talking about we just talked about the client welcome kit template, right? That's a template. And by the way, I've got a special invitation so that you guys can get these templates as a gift from Gary and myself. You just got to stay tuned here for a special offer. So we offer our client welcome kit. And I also talked about our listing presentation template. We covered a few of the slides, but there's about 20 some in our total listing presentation. So I've got 2 templates that I wanted to give you access to. And in order to get access to it, you just have to take advantage of the special offer that we have. You can get these templates for free when you join our club, okay? Gary and I have a club. We invite you to join. You're going to get these templates as gifts from Gary and myself when you join our club. You might be wondering, what is this club that you have? Our club is designed to help you stand out and get recognized for your expertise using tools, technology, and marketing that make real estate fun. Our club is designed to get you recognized as that expert agent, and in this case, that expert listing agent, so that you can get clients on demand instead of struggling and worrying about where you find the next one. So you become that expert agent, or you get recognized as that expert listing agent so that you get consistent, predictable income instead of wondering where your next commission is going to come from. Now, you have systems to replicate leads and save time instead of wasting money on things that just don't seem to work. Here's something that, out of all the things, if we could just get recognized for the great service that we provide and have clients place a premium on our expertise and our value, that is going to be the difference instead of having to negotiate our fees and feeling the pressure to give in to the question on when someone says, hey, will you discount your fees? Right? And so our club is designed to get you recognized as that expert agent so that you can experience these benefits instead of the other. So the club is a membership. There's a couple of things that you're going to get every single month from us, in addition to those gifts that we're offering today. So every month you get new marketing materials. You're going to get blog posts. You're going to get marketing emails. You're going to get social media posts. You're going to get marketing ad templates. All of the things that we shared with you on how to get listing appointments in the first place, we provide you with that marketing campaign every single month. You even get an SEO-friendly marketing website so that you always look good online. We automatically put blogs on your website for you. There's property landing pages so that you can market listings, and there's even tools for lead generation. You get access to our training library and template library with hundreds of tools, hundreds of tutorials, instructional videos, implementation guides, and even how-to guides and plans. I wanted to share a story from one of our members, a success story, as well as a tip from this individual. Her name's Teresa, and she reported to us that she wanted to say a huge thank you to the Paperless Agent team. Thank you, Gary, Jordan, Chris, and the whole team behind the scenes. And here's the report that she gave us. She says they actually tripled their income, right? So they sold over $9 million, all because they followed the plan. Right? This is important because I want to show you guys what that plan is. right? So they tripled their income all by using the plan. What is the plan? It's our 5-step career acceleration plan. This is what our club is designed to do. Our club is designed to get you recognized as that listing expert agent by following this 5-step career acceleration plan, right? So step 1 is you're going to make a powerful online presence. Step 2 is you're going to start marketing to your base, which is a little bit what we talked about today in getting those listing appointments. Is we talked about marketing to your base, to that sphere of influence, by building up that word of mouth. We provide you the tools to do it. And so that's what we help you do. Step 3 is we got to ace every listing appointment and ace every listing opportunity. Step 4 is we got to scale and replicate leads on demand. That's how we start to get to a place where we've got a lot of freedom, we've got a surplus. And at that point is when we can start looking at putting our practice on autopilot. This is where you don't have to do it all yourself, right? This is where you start getting help, where you start getting tools, or you start referring stuff out, right? So, or you maybe even start hiring people if that's what you're thinking about doing in the future. Now, to join our club, you would literally spend hundreds of dollars getting these individual components. To get marketing materials every month would be at least $100. To get a marketing website, again, at least $100. To get templates and training every single month, you're looking at, to get this kind of coaching, at least $100 a month, if not several $100s a month. But to get recognized in your market as an expert, heck, that's priceless, right? I mean, that alone, getting respected and recognized in our markets by our clients, by our peers, that is what makes the difference. And so you can join our club instead of spending hundreds of dollars every single month. You can join our club for just $67 today. You can join the club for just $67 today and get access to those awesome bonus gifts of the Gary's listing presentation template, as well as that client welcome kit template. You can easily cancel our club, hassle-free, no questions asked. There's no contract. There's no commitment. Let me repeat that. When you join our club, there's no contract. There's no commitment. It is month to month, and you choose when, if it's right for you, and staying in it. Last thing I want to make is a extra special bonus gift when you sign up right now with us. If you sign up right now, I'm going to throw in our property marketing plan template so that you can save yourself countless hours in trying to produce an effective property marketing plan that you can send as part of that pre-listing packet that we had talked about earlier. And so when you sign up right now, you're going to get our property marketing plan template so you can show your listing prospects how you stand out in the market as a listing expert agent. And so get all of those things today when you join our club. To join our club, it's pretty straightforward. All you've got to do is click on the little button for the offer. It's going to take you to the website to be able to sign up. Like I said, sign up now so you can get these 3 very specific gifts that Gary and I are giving you when you join our club today. Our listing presentation templates, the client welcome kit template, and that property marketing plan template. You can click on that button to take advantage of this offer, or you can go to thepaperlessagent.com/get listings, although I think it'll be easier just to click on that button.
Yeah, we just like to make things easy on you. So what I did, Chris, by the way, as you were talking about this, so many people were saying, okay, get to it. How do I join? I'm in. So I went ahead and launched that into the chat section. I also just launched the blue button over in the chat section. It says join club now. Literally all you need to do is click on that, and it's going to take you to a specific page to let you join. So go do that as we get to Q&A, because we have a ton of questions. And Chris, if it's okay, I think there are a lot of questions about the club that I want to address very quickly before we get into questions about our content that we just talked about. Mike and several others are here from Canada, and they're wondering, does this work in Canada? And yes, it absolutely does. I think it vacillates. About 12% of our students are in Canada. So absolutely, you are in good company there, Mike.
Yeah, in fact, because we provide you with marketing materials every single month, we recognize that sometimes it might seem specific to the US. In those cases, we always create a second version for our Canadian brothers and sisters so that they're not going to feel alienated or feel weird sending out U.S. related stuff. I usually find this happens when in the reference to statistics and resources, right? So we don't want to be quoting the U.S. market if you're, why send out U.S. market stuff when you live in Canada, right? So whenever we have information in the marketing materials that's really specific like that, we always create a second version for our Canadian students.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's head on over to the next question that we've got here. Lori and Gina and a few others are asking about the formats of our templates. So it does not matter if you're using a Mac or a PC. If you're using Microsoft or Apple software, it's going to come in both formats for you. So like the listing presentation is going to come in Keynote and in PowerPoint. So then you get to go in there and modify it. And I do want to encourage you, like when you join, go get these templates, download them. It takes no time at all to modify them and start practicing and then using them. And in fact, there was a student of ours who joined our club on a Thursday, downloaded the listing presentation template, customized it with his photos and his stats that evening, went on a listing appointment the next day, then went to our private Facebook group that is just for you, just for our students. And he said, I literally joined the club yesterday. I downloaded, I practiced, I modified, I went on a listing appointment today, and I beat out the #1 agent in the area, and I got the listing because of this. And I was like, that right there is why we do what we do. It's stories like that where we're like, okay, that's it. That's awesome.
Well, a lot of times, I mean, let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever noticed and wondered about like those top listing agents and brokers in your market and wonder how did they get there, right? And you would look at them and you might look at their marketing or you look at how long they've been in the business. And here's the thing, there's really nothing different between you and them, right? It might seem like that. And from a production standpoint, it is right now. But when it comes to the consumer and the consumer's view of us, the only thing that's different is how we represent ourselves, right? And so with the power of the internet, right, that's the great thing. With the internet, it leverages the playing field. You can look just as good as the top agents and brokers in your market if you know how. As long as you're showing up just like they're showing up, as long as you're presenting yourself with powerful linguistics, right? You've got your pitch and your promise rehearsed, you're going to look just as good as the top listing agent and broker. And over time, here's what happens. You also get the production numbers like they do as well. And so not only do we have a number of students who've experienced this, Gary, I remember John Diaz, who sent you a number of reports where he lives in California and he's using the same tools, right, that we're sharing with you guys, Gary's listing presentation, to be able to command a significant premium compared to what the average is in his marketplace when it considers his fees. He doesn't have to negotiate because he's doing exactly as we've described here, right? He's setting it all up. He's preceding the conversation. They see him as an expert. They've got his property marketing plan. When he shows up and they have the conversation about his fees, they're wanting to sign up with him. It's kind of like this, Gary. When someone has the respect for you like they do their doctor, right? They're not going to ask you to negotiate your fees. Just like people don't go to the doctor before a surgery and say, Doc, will you take 15% off that surgery fee? Come on, right? Aren't you all the same, right? That's not the conversation that they have. In fact, they're like, just take care of me. Mm-hmm. Everything's in your hands. And that's how we need to represent ourselves. And we've given you a pretty good game plan today to do that. Our club just gives you the tools and resources to be able to do it consistently and on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, and one thing in the very beginning, a lot of people I think joined maybe 15 or 20 minutes into the education today, and a lot of people, Chris, were saying, okay, but how do I get those listing appointments in the first place? And so we actually take you through and show you exactly how to stay in touch with people on a monthly basis so you don't get passed up for those opportunities. And in fact, I want to read this one thing very quickly, and then I want to get to a quick client story. Lori said, all right, I'm in a subdivision that has been farmed by 3 of the top 10 agents in my region for 17 plus years. It's murder competing against them, but I can out-tech them any day, and these slick materials will help. Absolutely. That's the whole point, is that, like Chris said, is that you're looking at these top producing agents and brokers. And in fact, we have one student, her name is Hillary. And she had been producing at a decent level and then had some health issues and came back and she said, okay, guys, I've got to restart my career because I'm dying here. I'm drowning. What do I do? And we told her exactly what to do, which is exactly what we told you to do. And when you join our club today, you get that process and that system through our monthly value program to stay in touch with people. And here's what happened to her, is that she was struggling in her business. She was selling about $3 million a year. Over 9 months of consistently doing exactly what we show you to do in our program, she is now selling $3 million a month.
Yeah.
I want to clarify, $3 million a month. And all you have to do is follow the process. And
yeah.
so
I was going to say, Gary, if you guys missed it, if you logged in a little bit late, the first, 20 minutes or so, what we talked about was essentially the 5 essential real estate marketing activities that you can do in about an hour a month that are going to get you a surplus of opportunities, right? So we shared that in the beginning, the benefit, and I'll just highlight it. You're basically sharing your expertise. You're sharing it via email. We're putting it on our websites. We're creating videos around this information. We're posting this on social media. We're boosting these posts to people who are in the sphere of influence. And then we are reaching out to people through tools like Messenger to make it really easy. Now, I just went through that really quickly, and I think we actually talked about 24 minutes about that specific campaign because you're probably doing some of those things, but we need to shift how we're doing some of those things just to make them effective. You're probably 80% of the way there. You just need that 20% shift to get the effectiveness. It's Pareto's principle, right? The law of 80-20. 20% of your activities are going to produce 80% of the result. So you're almost there. You just need that last 20% to get it. Now, we provide as part of our club every single month everything that you're going to need to do to be able to do those 5 essential activities every single month. So I highly suggest that you just join, get in there, start doing this to create your surplus. For those of you guys who were here during that section of the training, do me a favor, do Gary and I a favor so we don't have to keep rehashing this part of it. Just let everybody know, yeah, that's going to work for you guys. Just sign up, get in there, because anyone who's been in the business can see, if I just do those 5 things, I could see that working, right?
Right. Next question is, I have a lot of people here who are asking about social media education, et cetera. So I'm just going to distill a few questions down so that Chris and I can answer them. Chris, number 1 is, Kanar said, oh, I'm so interested, but do you help me learn how to use your tools? Number 1, I don't have a website and I don't know how to. Absolutely. And in fact, our education, Kanar, and I hope I'm saying your name right, at Kinnar, Kanar, we basically take baby steps, and it doesn't matter where you are in your career. You're going to be able to take a very quick look at how we show you how to do each process and each system, and you'll jump into where it matches where your level of expertise is right now. And if you're brand new, no problem, we got you covered. But we show you step by step exactly how to do that. And just as an example, we show you how to set up your website. If you already have photos and your content and everything, it takes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes to set up your website. So absolutely, we can help you there. Next question for you, Chris. Oh, did you have?
I was going to say, just to expand on that a little bit, is, of course, we're going to help you because we've created that 5-step career acceleration plan, right? The website is one part, the website that we provide you with. And if you have another website, that's fine. You don't need to replace it. This is just sort of an additional way for you to expand on that powerful online presence. Remember, that was step 1 in the career acceleration plan that the club is designed to walk you through. Is number 1, we need a powerful online presence. Number 2 is we need to market to our base so we never lose a client to the competition again. Step 3 is we got to ace every single listing appointment, right? We got to master that pitch. We got to master that promise so that we can get recognized as the listing experts in our market. Step 4 is where we want to scale and replicate leads. This is using all of the technology and marketing tools that are out there, as well as the most innovative marketing strategies. Every single month, we provide training every single month. There's a whole training library for you to be able to go find what makes sense for you. We're going to show you how to use tools like Facebook, how to use tools like Instagram, how to use tools like Google, how to use the paid version of those tools versus the free version of those tools, right? That's where you're going to use a little bit of know-how and maybe a little bit of marketing budget or a little bit of time and energy to be able to create a scale of how we increase the number of opportunities that we get instead of having to go hustle after every single one, right?
Oh, man. You just nailed it, Chris. Remove the hustle, buddy. Take the hustle out.
And then that last step, right, in the career acceleration plan, step 5 was putting the practice on autopilot. And that is where you're going to use tools like budgets and money, or you're going to use tools like other people or virtual assistants, or you're going to use tools like, I'm going to refer this business to somebody else, right? But that's when you start to put your practice on autopilot. And our club is designed to take you through these 5 steps. Now, clearly, you recognize this. You can't do this in a day. You can't do this in a week. To really build this process out, it's something that you're going to constantly revisit, constantly work to improve on. And that's what our hope is, that you're going to engage this process. You are going to want to make those changes in your own real estate practice, because we know that we all want to get recognized for what we do. I know you do. I know Gary and myself do. We want to get recognized in a market. We want to get recognized for taking care of the clients that we do. We want to get recognized for providing the dang good service that we do. And it's just a little bit of know-how, right? Just a little bit of that marketing know-how and a little bit of that marketing effort that closes the gap from us getting recognized as that expert agent, that listing expert agent, versus us going unrecognized and undervalued in the marketplace. So sign up. Let's go on to the next question, Gary.
Yeah, Chris. So next one we have is, Mike says, does this offer today include the pre-listing package? So Chris, would you mind pulling up the slide that shows all of the bonuses that they're getting today? And we want to walk Mike and everybody else through this. And by the way, if you're ready to sign up, I want you to take advantage of this right now. I'm going to turn my screen off so you can see the whole thing. Today, Mike, when you sign up, you're getting our listing presentation templates. You are also getting the client welcome kit templates. And to answer your specific question, absolutely, you will be getting the pre-listing package, which is our property marketing plan template. So what we need you to do, Mike, is head on over, click on that blue button that says Join Club Now, and make sure you take advantage of that opportunity. And with that, Chris, I'm going to punt this next question back to you, because Sandy said, okay, well, what are the benefits of continuing membership monthly versus just getting the templates and downloading and quitting? What value is provided?
All right, so let me hit on some of those main things. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing preventing you from doing that, okay? If you want to just join and download the stuff and quit, I understand, right? You're at a place where I just need these immediate tools. Right. Now, here's what we provide you with. We're going to provide you with marketing materials every single month so that you don't have to go through the difficult process of creating them every single month, so that you can build that word of mouth, so that you can get that repeat business. Remember, 76% of sellers, they choose to get a recommendation to somebody else than work with us because we don't have a proactive plan for getting repeat customers, nor do we have a proactive plan for building word of mouth, right? So that we can make it easier for people to have conversations about us, right? And that's what our marketing that we provide you is designed to do, is to capitalize on that. So that's the first thing that we're going to provide you with every single month, so that you will hopefully stay in it for the long run. The second thing is we're going to provide you with a simple SEO-friendly marketing website so you can implement those same strategies, right? So we post that blog on your website so you don't have to worry about it, so that you can send out that campaign every single month. Now, the third thing that we provide is our training and template library. Every single month we're adding to this. Every single month we are updating the training so that you can begin to or continue walking through that 5-step career acceleration plan, which you're going to need the information that's in the training library to implement. I'll give you an example of some of the conversations and some of the training that we've provided. In fact, yesterday we did training on Instagram. We've done training on Facebook ads recently. We did training on the Facebook on $1 a day strategy. We've done training on video. We've done training on all social media and then specific pieces of social media. We've done training on how to, conduct your listing presentation, your listing appointment, working with buyers. We covered the full gamut because we have been providing this information since 2013. We've been able to amass a huge library of relevant stuff that's going to help you regardless of where you're at in the stage of career, wherever you are, whether you are a brand new agent, meaning you've been in this business less than 3 to 5 years, right? You're going to be able to find the tools and resources to help you begin to stake that claim in your marketplace. Perhaps you've been in the business for a little while, right? You're starting to get some skills, right? I would consider you to be that seasoned agent or that professional. You're going to be able to go in there and cherry pick exactly what you need to close the specific skill gaps so that you can get recognized just like those veterans. And those of you who are veterans, you've been in the business 10, 15 years or longer. What you need, and you guys already know this, is you got to figure out, how do I stay relevant? How do I continue to engage customers? How do I stand out? Because the last thing that we want to do is start to seem like we no longer have relevance in the marketplace. And I'll be honest with you, Gary and I have a real estate practice, right? And so I'll be honest with you, I don't know if it's just me, Gary, it feels like the real estate space is getting a little crowded. I don't know. Doesn't it seem a little crowded? I know we're at pretty much a record number of members of the National Association of Realtors. There's also all these other entities in the space again. Reminds me of the last time we had sort of an upcycle and all of those interesting different types of providers that were out there. Well, they're out there again, right? So it seems like it's kind of crowded. So, we all need to be able to stand out. We must stand out, we must get recognized, and we must distinguish ourselves. Not only are we at this point competing with the other 1.3 million people that are out there, we're competing against these instant offer things and these discount things and all these other things that are out there that for the consumer, it just sounds like a lot of noise, right? And so what we've got to do is leverage the fact that, we're individuals and we're individuals in the marketplace. We can do a heck of a lot more. We can do what those big brands and those big budgets can't do because we're focused in one little market, one little particular area. So we can use ourselves. We can use our expertise, right? We can use a little bit of budget, a little bit of elbow grease, and a little bit of know-how to make sure we're getting recognized in our areas. And that's how we compete against others, right? And so that is what we're trying to help you accomplish through the club. Now, I know I began talking about this by saying, what are the benefits for staying in our membership? I think that was the original question. The benefit is we want you to stand out. We want you to get recognized. And hopefully you will see value in that, value to continue the process of becoming that recognized professional and walking through that 5-step career acceleration plan. I can't hear you, Gary. Nope. Turn your sound off and your video off for a second and try it again. Do I still have you, Gary? Folks, we might have lost Gary. I do not see or hear him, so I'm going to go ahead and continue. Gary, if you get that worked out, just message me through Slack. I'm going to continue. What I'm going to do is go over here to there's your video. I can't hear you.
Now I'm back.
Now you're back. What's going on over there?
Well, batteries in the battery pack, rookie mistake.
On top of batteries, man. I'll tell you what, batteries will run out.
So, Denise has a question. Is the training schedule done by scheduled webinar? Absolutely. Denise, the first and third Wednesday of every month, we have live sessions. And by the way, if you can't make the specific live session, don't worry. We got it recorded for you. Yeah.
I find, personally, there's two things. I like the live sessions. And of course, I'm biased because we're on it. But I like the live sessions because we can answer questions live, real action, right? Like you can go on there and whatever we're training on that particular day, you can just go ask questions and get your specific questions answered. But I also see the value and benefit of being able to just go watch the recording when it's convenient for you. So we find that most people will watch the recording, and then when you have a question, or if there's a particular topic that we happen to be covering that you're really like, oh, I really want to get into that, then you show up, you ask the questions. Of course, you can always email our support team if you have questions as well.
Oh, check this out, Chris. This is perfect. Mohini said, I find the continuous training that you provide amazing. And just the fact that you have opened up my eyes about a lot of things I was confused about, I would stay in your club. Thank you very much, Mohini. That is really, really awesome.
Yeah, that's our goal. I mean, here, Gary, you know this.
Yeah.
Stuff changes, right? There's things that are the same, like principles, and then there's things that are different, like tools, technologies, and strategies, right? So those things change constantly, and there's always new innovations. There's always cool ways of being able to engage. And what we want to do is continue to provide you with the insights that are necessary for you to leverage and take advantage of these, right? Here's the thing. If you want to be the undisputed champion, then you got to know these things. I oftentimes encounter this strange dynamic, and I'm sure you see this a lot. Everybody here, right? Let's just say you would like to get more listings, right? Or let's say you just want to be able to grow your real estate practice. You already have 80% of what you need. You've got 80% of the know-how. You've got 80% of the understanding. You've got 80% of the asset that you need. There's just the 20% difference in what causes the result to happen. And it's such a small thing. And here's the thing. What happens is, and I know I'm like you guys, I'm always out there trying to learn something new. I'm always trying to figure something out. And guess what? There's a lot of information out there that's not complete. It's missing that 20% gap. I speculate it's because a lot of the information that we have available to us hasn't been translated into our industry and has not been tested by people who sell real estate, i.e., how our real estate practice is relevant to you guys is we try this stuff out. We figure out if it works. If it doesn't work, we're not going to tell you about it. If it does, then we're going to tell you that it works, right? And so I think that's one of the distinctions and one of the reasons why we're able to give you that 20%. So thank you for sharing that, because that encourages me to keep out there, keep taking the arrows in the back, because I'll tell you what, it ain't easy trying this stuff out and taking the arrows in the back in our own real estate practice, because we, like 1 out of 5, maybe 1 out of 10 things actually work. So we're out there trying a bunch of stuff that doesn't work to figure out the things that do.
Yeah, and then we bring it to you, and that's what you get as being a member of the club. So by the way, if you have not joined the club now, go click on that blue button right now. I'm going to make sure that everybody has that in the chat section as well as we get to our next question. Patty says, what if I'm brand new and don't have any listings yet? Is this membership still helpful? Patty, let me explain this. We have a member, his name is Chip Barkell. Chip joined actually the weekend that we launched our club. He joined. He didn't even have his license yet. He got his license, I think, 2 or 3 weeks after, like he took his test and got his license 2 or 3 weeks after joining our club. And he's been in our club since the inception. He had no business, no listings, no buyers, no technology, and no knowledge. And what he did is he said, I'm in because I need to actually get this knowledge before I get into real estate. So, man, when I hit that and I get that license in the mail, boy, I'm off and running. And so what Chip has done is he has built an extremely successful practice up just outside of Toronto, Canada, and he is doing exceptionally well. He's been with us for years now. So what if you don't have any listings? What if you don't have any clients? What we recommend you do is we actually have a process that we say, okay, this is where you need to start. And in fact, it's that 5-step career acceleration plan that Chris was talking about earlier, is that there are places for you to start building your business so that you don't become one of the statistics of the 80% of realtors that drop out in their first year. We don't want that for any of our members. And that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, if you're just starting out, that same career acceleration plan is relevant to you. It's the steps that you're going to take. Now, I'll be honest, the truth of the matter is, if you're just starting out, it's going to take you a little bit longer, right? I mean, wouldn't you expect it to take longer if you were just starting out versus someone who's been selling real estate for 15, 20 years? Of course, that's what makes sense. So the expectation that I have is to say, you know what, it's just going to take a little bit longer for me to walk through those 5 steps, but that's okay. Right? You got to start somewhere. I would much rather you start here in step 1 on the right path than try and go in a lot of different directions, because you won't get anywhere. And you end up becoming a statistics there. You end up not achieving, the career that you have hoped to establish. Now, a point I wanted to make, you got me thinking about Chip Barkell, and you got me thinking about all of our members who've been with us for a long time, right? And we have people who've been in this program since the inception for, 5-6 years now. And here's what I've learned, which is that there are people in our community of real estate professionals who are members who have far exceeded the knowledge that Gary and I have. Like, they've taken this stuff and they've just gone to an even deeper level. And so one of the things that we do is I like to invite experts. I'd like to invite members from our community to do trainings with us, right? We've done that on a number of occasions where somebody from our community took a strategy, implemented it, and they went further with it than Gary or I have done. And so we're not claiming to know everything. We know a lot, right? We're in the market, we're doing the business. But here's what we realize is that the power of the collective wisdom of the whole community is far more important than just two guys here who are sharing this information with you. In fact, recently, I think it was earlier this month, we featured Christopher Dean, who is in part of the top 4 team in the Houston area. I think they sold $92 million in production in volume last year, $92 million. And one of the key tools that he used to grow their real estate practice literally from scratch, right? So they had moved from Dallas and they moved to Houston, and they had nothing going on in Houston. So they needed to find a competitive advantage. And the tool they decided to use was Google, right? They decided to use Google Ads to do that. Fast forward a handful of years and they're the number 4 top producing team in the area. And he attributes specifically a big part of that success is his ability and what he has figured out over the years using Google Ads. So I invited him onto a training session to share, like, what kind of ads are you running? How are you doing this? And he shared with us the specific ads that are getting them 8 times return on investment just using a tool like Google Ads. And that's just one of the many things that we train on, right? That's just one of the many things that we have experts that have shared. Here's what I know. In fact, we've got this private Facebook group. You go in there, and if you just start reading some of the questions and the responses, and you can pretty quickly pick up on the people who know what they're talking about in a particular domain. Mary Anglin is another one who comes to mind, who has really taken online video and doing marketing videos and just like going so far with it that she really exceeds the rest of us in the pack when it comes to using a very effective tool of marketing, a very effective tool for making us stand out, which is online video. And so whenever, oftentimes our members have innovated and they're willing to share what they've done. You got to check out that private Facebook group once you become a member, because you will see things like people sharing referrals, and that's all good stuff that's also happening there. But there's nothing better than when someone who really understands, whether it's something about listings or someone, I've seen stuff in there like, actually it was Christopher Dean who was sharing some of his campaigns that he was running against builders to be able to help find buyers so that you can represent them with builders. So like, all these great strategies, all these great tactics coming from you guys, coming from our community.
Chris, I have to interrupt you because somebody just notified me that the offer expired on there. So I'm resetting it so that we can make sure that you get that offer. So let me go ahead and publish that now. If you guys don't mind, go to the chat section and let me know that that Join Club Now button is back up, because I was getting some messages from people that they weren't able to join and it disappeared. So if you can see that, please go let me know that you can see that. And then if you are joining, make sure you do that again before it expires. We want to make sure that you do that so you get all of the bonuses. Sarah just said it's back. Deb said it's up. Thank you very much. By the way, quick shout out. I want to give a shout out to our newest members. We have the newest members who have joined us today. We have Allie, Kimmy, John, Deb, Kathy, Matt, Greg, Lisa, Ryan, Irma, Lori, David, Lindy, Kelsey, Renee, Andrew, Aaron, Sarah, Denise, Sam, Stefan, Eric, Wayne, Kathy, Cynthia, Christine, Kale, Anitra, Grayson, Al, Dale, Lynn, Carrie, Roxanne, Karen, Miles, Regini, Charles, Sandy, Richard, Sarah, Michael, Darren, Jeff, and Carolyn. If I missed your name, what that means is that for some reason your registration did not go through. So please go and make sure that you register right now. We want to make sure that you get in on this special offer. All right, Chris, next question for us. Kathy and a couple others had questions about the scheduling and when our live sessions are. That's the first and third Wednesday of every month. It is at 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And if you're in Arizona, I have no idea. You got to figure that out on your own, because you guys are like the only smart ones in the world who do not participate in this whole silly time change. And Gino said, can I get Canadian content for marketing materials? Yes, Gino, we addressed that a little bit earlier, is that in any time that it is United States specific content, we do during those months create Canadian specific content as well. And Kathy said, will all the future updates or events be done via email and webinar? Yes, all of that is done that way. Let's see. Charles has a question for you, Chris. And of course, we do teach you, Charles, step-by-step how to do this, but I want Chris to, in about 30 seconds, explain this. How do we set up the SEO for the website that you include?
You just got to set it up. Remember, well, know that most search engine optimization components are handled by the tool and the technology themselves. Most search engine optimization strategies are ineffective because it takes too long to do, right? So a lot of people hope that they're going to get found for homes for sale in your city. You can't compete on that. I'm just going to be straightforward with you. You're not going to compete on those particular keywords. Too many people are spending too much money in your area to make that happen. But what you can do is make sure you get found for you, and that you make sure you get found for the listings that you have. And the technology takes care of it, so you don't have to do anything. Now, there's some cool plugins within there, within the websites that we provide, because it's sitting on a WordPress engine. We provide you with Yoast so that you can better understand what do I need to put into the website to make it perform better. But know that the technology takes care of most of it.
Yeah. Marvin said, should I go to all listing appointments with a ready-to-sign listing contract? Hell yes. Because here's the thing. What is the purpose of you going on a listing appointment? It's to see if, number one, you're right for the client and the client's right for you. And if that is yes, then you need to be prepared to have them sign a listing agreement. And by the way, we have scripts that we talk about in our club. We share with you every single script I've ever used that is really powerful in order to help persuade somebody to trust you and to hire you. So absolutely, who was that? Marvin, absolutely, always be prepared. Is that the Army? Always be prepared. Who is that? The Boy Scouts, always be prepared. Sorry, Army, if you're in the Army here and I just insulted you, I'm really sorry. Okay, next question. Let's see. Sarah says, I have a license in Florida and most of the people who buy in Naples, Florida are Canadians. Can I get content for both the US and Canada?
Yeah. You get access to both versions.
Absolutely, Sarah. Yeah, when you log in to your portal, it's called the MVP. It's our monthly value program. So one thing I want to share with everybody, we actually have a library of different campaigns that you can send out. So I mean, every single one that we've created for our members in the club, you can go in there and say, ooh, I want to go send this one out this month. Ooh, that one's really relevant to my customer base. I want to go send that out. So you get access to all of those templates and all of those campaigns. And by the way, the campaigns are not just about emails. It's the email, it's the phone script. We give you phone scripts. We give you email scripts. By the way, if you need to leave a voicemail, we give you a voicemail script. We give you templates of Facebook ads and Instagram ads and all of this stuff that you can use for the entire month to be able to stay in touch with those people. So that, like Chris said, when you're looking at the 5-step career acceleration program, that's one of those steps that you've got to stay in touch with people consistently with really valuable content. And what I can share with you is the number one reason when I fell down and wasn't sending out valuable content consistently, the reason I didn't is that I didn't have valuable content, because maybe I was between copywriters, or maybe I didn't have time to sit down and write email and a whole blog article and all this stuff with photos and everything. I didn't have time to do that. That's not my expertise anyway. So when I wasn't able to stay in touch with them, that was why. And so what Chris said is, well, Gary, if you're not doing it, our club members aren't doing it. We hired a copywriter who goes and finds the most relevant real estate content right now, writes it for you guys and gals, and lets you send it out. So, we're spending thousands and thousands of dollars a month to have this created for you, and you don't have to spend that money. You get that as part of this club. So, man, I went on a tangent there, Chris. Normally, you're the best at going on tangents, and I just went off on mine. So, next question is there a checklist of the whole process? Like, I think Kanar is saying is, when I join, what the heck do I do? Is there something that outlines what I do?
Yeah, in fact, we have it's the 5-step career acceleration plan, but it's an actual document with all the minutia to implement that plan. So it's an actual like onboarding document, and you're going to get that. You're going to see it on your dashboard when you first log in. Just look for the career acceleration plan, and you get that, you download that, and that's going to walk you through each of those 5 steps. It's got links to the relevant training. Of course, you're also going to want to go in and explore the rest of the tools that we have there. But in terms of following what to do, the career acceleration plan, we've gone beyond just identifying those 5 steps. We walk you through each one of those things, and there's links to the specific training that you need so that you don't have to go through all of the stuff that we have to offer, but rather take you through a streamlined approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay, next question we have here. Sue said, why do you use Messenger to message people instead of text messaging?
For me, and I think for Gary, what we've observed is Facebook Messenger is a little less intrusive. If you're going to show up in someone's text messages, you better be sure you're on that level of relationship with them. Otherwise, it's too far out of the blue.
But I mean, Chris, how many thousands of friends do you have on Facebook?
Lots. And so
when they become your friend, they're pretty much authorizing you to message them, right?
Exactly. And I think context is very important here with every social media tool. And I consider something like Facebook Messenger actually a social media tool. Just like Instagram or Facebook or any of the other tools that are out there. Facebook Messenger is unique because it's a social media tool that is also a messaging tool. Now, here's the thing about Facebook Messenger is that because it is connected to Facebook, there's a lot more grace in terms of receiving a communication from somebody as long as we're connected to them versus showing up in somebody's text messages. That's a little bit more invasive. And here's the thing that we got to be careful of is that we must use the right tool for the right conversation, right? So if you just start showing up in somebody's text messages, that could seem a little weird to the person. Like, why is he messaging me? He hasn't messaged me in 2 years, and now all of a sudden he is. Well, it's not unusual to receive a communication from somebody via Facebook that you haven't been in touch with. That's the whole point behind some of that social media, is to be able to connect with people that we haven't connected with more recently. So Facebook Messenger, I find, is it's more okay. There's more grace there. It's acceptable if you haven't communicated with them regularly. Yet at the same time, it is equally as effective in getting opened, right? So when people receive a Facebook Messenger message, over 9 out of 10 times it's getting opened and read, right? Compared to, you start showing up in the text messages, you don't want to come across incorrectly. You want to come in with just the right amount of communication emphasis, which I feel, and Gary, I know you agree with this, is if you haven't communicated with somebody 3 years and all of a sudden you show up in their text messages, that's kind of weird.
Oh, creepy. I mean, the last thing I want to do is look like a creeper. Right. I mean, might as well just go knock on their bedroom window at night and say, hey, have you thought about selling your house?
But with Facebook Messenger, you completely have the out of be like, yo, you popped up on my news feed and I just thought I'd message you from there. Because if someone shows up in the news feed, you can click on them to send them a message. So it's actually easy to do that.
Yeah, so you've got that's why.
Yeah.
Somebody just messaged and said the offer disappeared again. Can you put it back up? Well, My question is, what are you waiting for? Like, why'd you wait for me to publish it and then it disappeared again? I'm going to publish it one more time.
Already. Get in there.
Just here, click on it. There, I just published it. Click on the button right now and join before we hang up. We have one more question. Mohini said, "Do you have tutorials on how to implement the MVP?"
Absolutely. In fact, I just updated one. I just recorded a brand new one that I'm going to upload probably later this week or earlier next week. But there's already existing ones in there. So yes,
Right.
we provide you with the training. And remember, I come from an instructional design background. So all of our materials are produced in the hopes of trying to help you get to the outcome. You know, the best instruction or the best tutorials or the best training is ones where you're not suffering through the training, but you're going to hurry up and get to the outcome that you want. And so that's what we try. That's what we strive to do in all of the tools and all of the training and all the resources we provide you guys with. What we're trying to do is to make it easy to implement, because we know nothing happens if you don't implement. So we try to be, conservative when it comes to the amount of language that we're using, but heavy on tools and templates and things that allow you to just get to the point. So yes, we've got training on it, and yes, you get the templates for it.
Okay, Chris, we've been here for an hour and 48 minutes. And so what I wanted to say,
fun.
We still got a lot of people here. We hope you really enjoyed this. Chris, I enjoyed this as always. It's so awesome to co-present with you and to share what we're doing that works with everybody here. If you enjoyed it as much as we did, make sure before you leave, because we got to leave, but we're going to leave this up for just a little bit. Before you leave, go click on the join button, Join Club Now button, and you're going to get all of the bonuses. And by the way, as we sign off, we're going to make sure that you get you can see this on the screen. You get to see that slide of all of the bonuses that you're getting today. By the way, for everybody who joined, welcome to our marketing club. And as you join, there are several steps that you'll want to do. Number one, first, check your email inbox. You should have received an email instantly when you join. If it's not there, it's probably hanging out in your spam folder. Worst case scenario, if you can't find it, email our team at support@thepaperlessagent.com, and we'll get you signed on so you can start your 5-step career acceleration program. We want to see this from you. We don't want to see this flat line anymore. We don't want to see this. We want to see this, and we're going to help you make that happen.
Awesome.
That's Chris's closing. Awesome. With that, everybody, I'm Gary Kreth.
And I'm Chris Scott. We look forward to seeing you on our next training. We look forward to seeing you on our private Facebook group, and we'll see you guys online. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.